Hey, gang. All right, I've been urged to tell this story, my own Weekend at Bernie's story, which will henceforth be called Weekend at Gerry's. So, this had to be about 15, 20 years ago, maybe. So I had this promoter friend of mine named Gerry Livers, amazing, awesome guy. I loved hanging with him. I appreciated that he booked me for shows, but he was just a lovely, lovely cat. And we would hang out all the time, especially before and after shows, but sometimes even when I wasn't playing shows, we'd just hang out with him. He was great. And he lived in Asheville, North Carolina, about 5 hours from Nashville. So he booked me for a series of shows. This is after we've known each other for about 5 years. And the routine was always, hey, I'm going to leave the back door open. Just come in, make yourself comfortable. And if I'm not there, I'll be there before the gig and we'll go do the gig. Usually it meant 3 sets, so the gig would last till 2 a.m. Didn't want to drive home. Cool. So my bass player and I, Lauren Rawl, also a great guy, great bass player. We were just gonna do it together as a duo, just bass and guitar. So we drive out, we get there, and this is all in the song Timeline, verbatim pretty much, by Mad King Edmund on our second record that came out in 2020. You can find it on Spotify and YouTube elsewhere. So Timeline by Mad King Edmund. Anyway, we drive all the way to Asheville. We get there, the house is dark, the cats are kind of wiggy, going a little crazy. I'm like, well, let's feed the cats. We feed the cats, we're hanging out. The World Series happened to be on. It was like late October, I think. And so we just kind of, Lauren was like, man, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable about this. So he's like, let's check the whole house. So we check the whole house. We go into every room. We go into the basement. We check the grounds, everywhere. Anyway, okay, so no Gerry. So we're like, okay, let's fire up a doob. Let's watch the World Series. Let's make some nachos, and let's hang out before the show, which we did. So showtime comes, and Lauren's like, hey, man, where's your buddy? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe he's going to meet us at the club. Go to the club. He's not at the club. We do 3 sets. No Gerry. So we're like, we had left our stuff back at Gerry's house. We go back there, still dark, still cold. Cats are wiggy. So Lauren's like, hey man, let's check the house one more time. So we check the house one more time. No Lauren. And I'm like, well, listen, man, I'm sure he'll show up. Maybe he's at his girlfriend's house. So let's just go to bed. And Lauren's like, no way, man. I'm not sleeping here. This is just freaking me out. And I'm like, all right, I don't really want to drive home. So we drive home. We like 2:30 in the morning at this point. We drive all the way home to Nashville, get home to Nashville at 7:30. We go to bed. I get a phone call at noon from Gerry's girlfriend, and she's like, Ed, were you here? And I'm like, yeah, I left a big note on the back of a poster, because I had bought Gerry a new pipe and whatever. And by the way, I'm 12 years clean and sober at this point. And she's like, well, the police want to talk to you. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well, they're trying to get a timeline together. And I'm like, timeline? Thus the song Timeline. I'm like, what do you mean timeline? She's like, Ed, Gerry's dead. And I'm like, Gerry's dead? He's like, yeah, they found his body on the other side of the bed, the one part we couldn't see in the house. So we were hanging out, having a party before our gig. Gerry was dead on the other side of the bed in his room. I said, well, we checked everywhere, but I guess that was the only place I didn't see. She's like, yeah, the cops are going to call you. They need a timeline. So that's our Weekend at Gerry's moment. I miss Gerry bad. He was a good dude, but crazy. Lauren was freaked out for a long time.